Whoa. Hey, what is that? Welcome to What Is That? With Silas Howe. That's me. Roll the intro. Whoa! What was that? Oh, right. That was an intro. Our intro's great. Today, we're going to talk about abstractions. Abstraction, what is that? Let's start very general. An abstraction is basically when you break down something that seems simple on the surface into more simple parts, which makes it doable by a computer. Oftentimes this is done in computer science, especially in programs, to simplify a process that can be done by a person into something that can be done by a computer. For example, math. When you add something, you just add it. But a computer doesn't know how to just add. It needs to be told what adding is and how to add each time it adds. Example time! What is that? It's the time where we show examples. Example time! What is that? What is that? When you see this, you might think, why is he asking what that is? He's such a dingus. Obviously it's a kazoo, but when I see it, I think, abstraction! You know why I think abstraction? Because the name kazoo, or I guess chair, or for anything, is one simple word or just a thing that's being used to describe something else that is very complex. For example, this is a yellow plastic thing, tube cylinder thing, with a red disc on top and a piece of paper that helps it make a noise. It also has a few holes in it. Imagine if we always spoke in complexity like that. Let's look at one more example, this time with a map. Fun fact, interruption! Oh, it's time for a fun fact, you say? Well, let's see. Okay, today's fun fact, I am a level 3 local guide on Google Maps. Yes, that's a thing. I need friends. What was that? Example time! What was that? Alright, back to the example. So imagine your friend is drawing you this map of the little known place called America. Fuck yeah! And he's showing you how to get to Beaufort, Wyoming. That in itself is an abstraction. He's taking a map like this and turning it into the map that he drew. Because you don't care about rivers, mountains, you just need to know how to get there. You'll go over them and figure out how to cross them on your own. You're just trying to find the straightest route, the easiest, most simple way. That's an abstraction because he could have also just given you this map, the map from before that's super complex, has rivers, mountains, probably deserts and goats on it. I mean, this map has everything. Honestly, it's kind of confusing. That's pretty abstract, that he took that and turned it into something simple and easy to understand and easy for you to work with. He made your task simpler. Alright, so now that we've got a general idea of what an abstraction is, let's look at the different levels. Transitioning into the next part of the video. Yeah. first layer, the physical layer. The physical layer is the lowest layer of abstraction because it's as simple as it can get. It's where your data is physically being stored on a hard drive. I mean, it's not like it's being represented as anything else. It is exactly what it is. The second layer, the logical layer. The logical layer is where you can see the data. Most people don't really work with it. It's mostly in binary. But if you're a data administrator, you work with it to decide what data goes into a database and what data doesn't. The third layer, the viewer's layer. What am I looking at? The viewer layer is the layer where the user actually interacts with the data. This is where you're seeing the data. When you're actually using a computer, this is the layer of abstraction that you're working in. This level has a bunch of sub-layers within it, a bunch of abstractions within the abstraction. For example, if you have a piece of software that does some math, well, that's going to have abstractions within it. And every piece of software and every thing that you do in the viewer layer relies on the previous layers before it. There's abstraction and abstraction and abstraction, all stacked up upon each other. It's really what makes software possible. In closing. So finally, let's look at abstractions like their layered cake. Imagine you have a cake with 3 layers, and all those layers are covered in icing. So when you actually look at the cake, you see a cake, and you're like, hey man, I'd eat that. I love cake. I do love cake. And when you look at that cake, that's just the simple version, or that's the most abstract version to what it originally was. Because within that cake, you've got your 3 layers. And within those layers, you've got ingredients that, without those ingredients, each layer wouldn't be possible. And actually, the top layer wouldn't be possible without layers below it. Because if it was the only layer, then it would be the only layer. Or if it was on the bottom, then it wouldn't be the top layer. So every layer relies on the previous one. And each part kind of adds another element to the cake. And within each layer might be a different flavor. So it might have different ingredients or different pieces of data within it. So then you kind of get this stacking layers, each layer, first layer, second layer, third layer, but then you also get the levels of abstraction where you have the ingredients for each layer and then the layers to form the whole cake. And without each sub part, you wouldn't have a cake. The cake is what you call the whole thing, because you're not going to call it, oh yeah, flour with sugar and chocolate and egg and blah 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 blah. That would suck. That's why we don't talk like that. That's why we use abstractions. Abstractions make our life easier. They make everything possible. Without abstractions, nothing would be possible. Alright. So, thank you for watching a episode of What Is That? With Silas Howe. Hopefully I explained abstractions pretty well for you. If not, ask questions. Yeah, subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Silas Howe. And, yeah, stay frosty. This is a very well lubricated chair.